Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Joes of all ages, welcome to the main event of the evening. It's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris.
Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe! Yo, Joe!
Ho, 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 hey, hey, hey. Didn't know what I was going to say there. It's me, the Chief, and you are...
Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80 from the Full Force podcast, and of course, this one.
Yeah, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm
How's
knackered.
all settled in the new crib?
Settled in, yes and no. So obviously there's still tons of stuff around because we haven't, organised a lot of it yet. We still need a few things. Like, we've just bought bookshelves from IKEA. That was a mission. That was the day I travelled back from New York, which obviously I've been at Toy Fair for a couple of days.
Yep.
And I went to the Hasbro preview event, which was pretty amazing. And kind of unfortunately for the G.I. Joe guys, it was the big relaunch of G.I. Joe and the 6-inch figures and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But everything had leaked weeks beforehand. And we were all expecting loads and loads more stuff, loads of everything, and it was just the stuff that we already knew. So it was a little bit anticlimactic from a G.I. Joe standpoint, but still, we've got figures coming, and they've got SDCC around the corner, they've got the movie down the road, so there's a lot, we'll see you down the road with all that said and done. But we'll, all that kind of coming, that I think they didn't expect everyone to be leaking all this stuff beforehand and then, going nuts for more. They, I think, grossly misjudged the anticipation for the G.I. Joe stuff. In any case, it is good. I had a blast going there and sitting in and seeing all the reveals for Marvel Legends and Star Wars and what else did they do? Power Rangers, and it was fun. It was great. Ghostbusters. This is the best part. So we're sitting in there in the auditorium, the theatre, and they reveal Ivan Reitman and Jason Reitman, the friggin' Ghostbusters daddies. They come out and everyone just goes absolutely ape nuts, not a word. And it was great. Jason is so funny. It was just hilarious. They were really good, loads of fun, talked about the movies and all that kind of stuff on stage. And then the Hasbro guys brought out these kind of special custom figures, not custom, actual Hasbro made figures of them, and in their Ghostbusters uniforms and stuff. And just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Had an absolute blast with that.
Wicked.
So it was fun. Got to speak to Lenny Panzica, who's been the designer on the G.I. Joe 6-inch stuff. We had a little interview with him. Man, it's just been manic on the Full Force stuff. We've been churning news bursts out like no tomorrow, so it's been wicked crazy. And then obviously that leads me to this point, which is coming back on the Sunday in the morning. Had to get up at 5 to get the train, hossed back. When it's a 3.5 hour train journey. It's not too bad, and it's actually really beautiful. The scenery is amazing between New York and Providence. Got into Providence Station. I actually live in Pawtucket, but Providence is nearby and it was cheaper tickets. We got into Providence. Kate picked me up and we went to bloody IKEA. So it was the longest day ever, and it's an amazing IKEA out there. We managed to pick up some bookshelves, which should sort some of this mess out once we get them knocked up. And then, but yeah, I'm settling in nicely. The place is gorgeous. The dogs are now comfortable with it. Honestly, it's the most beautiful friggin' place. I still haven't taken any footage for the people at home to check out because it's my private house, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
But no, it's great. Any case, how are you doing, pal?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm still ill, man. I think I've had this illness for about a decade, but I'm getting there, and
pretty sure that's AIDS.
Now I realise when I was hitting you up on the messaging saying I've got a monitor with no speakers, how do I get sound out of it? You were probably either at Toy Fair, at IKEA, or on a 3.5 hour train ride home. So I realised that was probably not what you needed.
I was balls deep in Toy Fair at the time. Yeah.
What had happened was, so I've got 2 TVs in the loft. Both quite old. One's a Panasonic Viera from about 15 years ago, and now it makes a horrendous buzzing noise when it's on. Yeah, so it's almost
Pod
like,
racer.
okay, so I need to get a new one of them. And then I got a little, whatever that is, 25-inch little Toshiba thing.
What are you
which
using
is actually,
to measure that, by the way? Are you using your penis to measure that?
Yeah. It's got quite a good picture. However, I dropped it when I was reorganising the new gaming area, and now it will not turn on. So I found a monitor that I had half-inched from work.
Brilliant.
Here you go.
25 half-inched.
Yeah. And the problem is, it's got no speakers, so just plug in the Xbox 360 or the PS3 or PS4 into it. I'll get video fine, but I get no audio out. And I was like messaging you saying, what do I do? You being the audio expert, and I think we came to the same conclusion that I need something called an audio extractor.
Yeah.
So I put an order for one of them in. I think it was about 16 quid. So
Or
that should
the
arrive
other
soon.
option is to get a better TV.
Yeah, well, I was actually in the British Heart Foundation charity shop today. They got one that does like furniture and electrics, and they had a few TVs in there for like 50, 60 quid. Old ones, but I'm wondering if I'll get a better deal on like eBay or Gumtree or Free Cycle or something like that. So
I always think of Owen and Thingy Heart when I hear about the Heart Foundation.
yeah. That is it's a charity chain in the UK for people outside the UK.
Not the Wrestling Brothers.
Not the rest. They don't own a shop where they sell secondhand furniture
in Britain.
No.
What a blooming gimmicky.
I need that to happen right now.
That'd
Except
be great,
they're all dead,
wouldn't
aren't they? Well, Bret Hart's still alive.
Brett's still around, but Owen was the one that,
Yeah, and Jim Anvil's dead, isn't he?
Yeah.
The other thing I did, I got a Kickstarter reward. I backed a Kickstarter before Christmas.
Nice.
It's a comic one by a guy called Kyle Starks, and he has done a few things mainly for Image Comics, and he's a writer and artist. And you should check out, actually, he did a book called Sex Castle.
Okay, that sounds great.
And this is basically an 80s style action. It's kind of a Stallone Arnie style romp where he was the world's greatest ever hitman, and he's now retired. But there's some people that don't want him to stay in that retired state, so they send a load of goons after him. But it's kind of a sort of black comedy action book.
It's called Sex Castle.
Because he's called Shane Sex Castle is his name.
That's the best name I've ever
Check it
heard
out.
in
It's good.
my
I think
life.
you could probably pick it up on Amazon for like $8 or something.
That was not the synopsis I was expecting to hear, honestly.
No,
That
it's
sounds great.
good. It's really good fun. But he's got a new book out called Old Head, and again, it might not be what you think it is. There's a guy who's a basketball player. He's an ex-basketball pro.
Again,
he's now again retired, and it turns out that his mum's house, which
it's an old knocking shop. Yeah?
She's now passed away, but there's a big castle up on the hill, and they want to buy out the plot of land and his mum's house. But it turns out this castle on the hill is owned by Dracula, and again,
Wow.
it's a kind of black comedy action, supernatural horror romp with a basketball player taking it to vampires.
Sounds great.
So anyway, I backed that. I got the PDF version, waiting on the hardback. But with it, here's actually a link to G.I. Joe, finally. With it, I got I'm going to get a 5x8 colour sketch from the artist. And it had to be basketball related or basketball adjacent. Nice. I chose Cobra Commander doing a crossover dribble.
Oh, brilliant.
So I will wait that. And when that comes, I'll post it up on the socials.
Killer crossover.
Yeah, killer crossover. That's it. So looking good there. The only other bit of news is I forgot I backed RB Leipzig, the German outfit, to win the Champions League.
Yeah.
And they took a 1-0 lead against Tottenham last week. So they're looking good to get into the quarterfinals. And I stand to win 270 quid if they lift the trophy.
I don't think you're going to be lifting that trophy,
no,
mate.
But they've given me a cash out of 60 quid. So if I want to, I can close the bet now to win 60 quid.
Oh, do that. Do that.
Yeah.
Definitely do that.
Okay. All right.
Do it now.
Yeah.
How much would you hate me if they went on and won it, though?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. A lot. I'm more than normal.
Wow.
I'm sending you a picture because I need to get onto this snack right now because my snack is getting cold and it was a hot snack. So, time for a jingle. Snack attacker. Chief and Chris, like Han Solo and Chewbacca, are travelling through hyperspace to get some snacks. Snack attacker. Yeah. And it being Shrove Tuesday, aka Pancake Day, is that a thing in the States?
Pancakes Day. No,
Yeah.
it's not. I don't think
Okay.
it is. Oh, look,
Right.
a pancake.
Well, in the day, I've sent you a picture there of the pancake I just rustled up 5 minutes ago.
Can I tell you what it reminds me of? It
Go on.
looks like Ryu or Ken's Hadoken. Like they've just literally Hadokened because it's got the trail. It's got the trail behind it.
Or a little bit like if you squinted, maybe a vertical bird's eye view of the Millennium Falcon.
Hell yeah! Did you do that on purpose?
Yes. Or the
didn't.
Death Star blowing up, maybe.
didn't. He
The
definitely
Death Star
didn't.
from episode 6.
It definitely does look like the Millennium Falcon, but
A little bit. Anyway, I've got to get into it because it's getting cold.
Eat
I've
Eat
put
it.
so we eat pancakes on this day every year in the UK. I've put a little bit of vegan chocolate spread on it.
Oh, yummy! We've got some of that. It's well
I'm
good.
gonna go. Now, unfortunately, behind the curtain, I say I cooked it 5 minutes ago. I actually cooked it 15 minutes ago because Chris
I was
was
10
late
minutes
onto the
late.
pod.
Yeah,
but that's
sorry.
fine because it's still really tasty. What have you
It's
got?
tasty, very, very tasty.
It's very tasty.
I recommend the porridge, the halibut is nice, you can say without any reply. But show 'em Kellogg's bran flakes, that's a different matter, they'll all reply. They're tasty, very, very tasty, they're very tasty. Would you care for yogurt? The green flakes are nice, the continental breakfast ain't bad. But show 'em Kellogg's bran flakes, that's a different matter, they'll all reply. They're tasty, very, very tasty.
Kellogg's Bran Flakes. You know, this could catch on.
What was that?
I don't know, but it's going to be it's a British advert, isn't it?
Is it? It's
They're tasty, very, very tasty. They're
it's not
very
bird's
tasty.
eye. It's not waffles,
No.
is it?
No, that's bird's eye potato waffles. The waffly versatile. They go
Grill
with
and bacon,
beans.
fry 'em, eat 'em.
Oh, mate, what I love. That advert is the greatest single jingle ever made.
Yeah.
Bird's eye potato waffles are waffly versatile. They go with beans, bangers, bacon, burgers, fish fingers, eggs in, eggs on, yam on, steak chops. Grill 'em, bacon, fry 'em, eat 'em. Bird's eye potato waffles are waffly versatile.
Bran flakes.
Yes.
Bran flakes.
Yes.
They're
I was
tasty,
just about
tasty.
to get to there was a cereal, and then we were going to have to whittle it down, but you've already got there.
What have you got?
Thanks to my wonderful in-laws, they sent us like a care package the other day of of things that just happen to contain Girl Scout cookies that they order a ton of these things around the same time every year, and they always get the two flavors that we absolutely adore: the Thin Mints, which are crispy chocolate wafers dipped in a mint fudge coating, which are
Nice.
absolutely delicious. And I'm using the F word because it's the only thing that describes them. And my favourite, lemonades, savoury slices of shortbread with a refreshingly tangy lemon-flavoured icing.
What?
It's unreal. So I'm gonna grab one of the lemonade ones first,
Yeah,
and then
please
probably
do.
chomp on a Thin Mint later. But here we go. I don't know why I'm saying here we go, I'm going to eat it and then tell you what it's like, because I've already eaten these millions of times and they're
Yeah.
great. Oh, creamy one side and a biscuity kind of crunch on the other. Lovely stuff.
Very good. Very good. Now that we're fully fueled, I think we should talk about some G.I. Joe comics.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hammer writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa. Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hammer writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them, whoa.
Excuse me. I've also got a caffeine-free Diet Pepsi.
Oh, I still have my Hasbro branded mini water, but it's just empty because I drank it 3
Okay.
days ago.
This week we're only going to do one issue, I think.
Correct.
Well, that would have been bad if you'd said no, we're doing 3 because I've only read one.
Yeah, because I'd message you to tell you we're doing one, and
yeah,
then at the
that
end
would've
we
been-
go, I was just kidding.
Yeah, that would have been tight for me though. Had the message and then just not understood it. Issue 166 is what we're doing. So we'll talk about the covers quickly first. Cover A is the Ron Wagner cover, who does the interiors. SL Gallant is on a break month here. Gary Erskine's on inks. Jay Brown's on colours. This is Shipwreck with Polly swinging his big grapple, knife in the other hand, standing on a hydrofoil.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And cover B, I'm just looking at small on the inside cover here by Herb
it's Destro
Trimpe.
Destro and the Baroness.
Destro and the Baroness. I like that one actually.
Gorgeous.
It's
In
quite
front- in
small
front-
for me, but it looks good.
It's beautiful. I'll send you a bigger version because they're
Right.
standing in front of the submarine. Cobra Commander's
Yeah.
on deck, with on the platform between the deck and the shore.
Oh yeah, I see him
And-
now. Yeah.
and the Iron Grenadiers are manning it. It looks beautiful, that cover.
Yep. Good stuff.
Both of these things happen on the cover, so I'm happy about that. Carry on.
Oh, they do, yeah. Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah, I know that's one of your bugbears, but... Last time on A Real American Hero, Cobra's assault on G.I. Joe's HQ, the Pit, proved unsuccessful. Dr. Mindbender sent in a phalanx of bats against a decoy... Doesn't make sense. As a decoy, should be. As the androids were blasted by G.I. Joe's Sky Striker, even when a Cobra Rattler arrived with bunker buster bombs, Ace was able to knock the enemy plane down with some fast manoeuvring in the Sky Striker. Although the assault failed, Destro and Zartan's plan to free the Baroness proved successful. Meanwhile, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, having been freed from the control of Dr. Venom, confront Billy and head back to Broca Beach in order to end Dr. Venom's subversive control of the brainwave scanner once and for all.
No, it was against a decoy. It's against a decoy base.
Oh, yeah. I don't understand again.
The bats aren't the decoy. The base was the decoy. So,
yeah, that's what I said. Right. So this is a standalone enough of an issue for us to just do this as a one and done.
Yeah.
Moving on.
It's quite interesting because they do all link together, but then this one does feel far and away like completely separate to what we've seen so far. And I like how they do that in this issue, and then the following two, the two that follow this issue kind of do a very similar thing again. Which is good for us because it means it's nice, easy kind of bites that we can take out of this in terms of the episode.
So, as an overall synopsis of this particular issue, Destro and the Baroness are exfil from Cobra Commander and Broca Beach. The Joes, are they just on kind of like a bit of a recon mission off the coast?
Well, in the previous issues, Torpedo, Lady J, etc., had ascertained that Broca Beach was a front for Cobra. So this is a follow-up to that information, and obviously these guys are going in the whale and the shark.
Yeah, they weren't.
Kind of
I don't think they were
armed.
planning to engage the enemy, but what we end up is a big three-way between the Joes, Cobra Commander, and Baronet and Destro Baroness.
I like the choice of characters in this as well, because obviously you've got Cutter with the whale, you've got Shipwreck, who's obviously seafaring, Topside, who, again, brilliant, like later kind of character in the original run, kind of late 80s, early 90s. And then, he's also had a figure in the modern era. So, like, to see him get some kind of, like, some shine is really nice too. So,
is that Topside in the Navy outfit?
Yeah, he's got like a Navy life preserver kind of.
He looks a bit like Cutter.
Yeah, very
like
much so.
Wearing.
Very much so.
On that opening page, the shark looks tiny.
Yeah,
strapped on the front of the whale.
I'm gonna try and recreate that in toy form and send a picture on to see what it would actually look like.
Yeah, not like that.
No,
it will not
it
look
wouldn't
like
be
that.
far off, but it's the whale is a big boy. But the shark isn't that tiny. But yeah.
No.
You can imagine wherever there's trouble, G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe!
Cobra's stealing the capsule!
Scrap iron sold separately.
They're getting away in the water moccasin! The shark won't catch him. Joe!
Each set is sold separately, and some assembly is required.
They're throwing the capsule overboard! Let's go get it! Joe!
G.I. Joe Shark comes with diver. Cobra Water Moccasin comes with driver. Each set and other figures sold separately from Hasbro.
Yeah.
I love that. There's a really cute part here because obviously they've tied it on with rope and it's just sitting on top of the whale, which is funny. And then when they're kind of getting Deep Six is also involved in this, into the cockpit for launch, Topside says, "I certainly hope your pressure suit will protect you from the stress forces generated by our ultra-sophisticated high-tech launch system."
Yeah, pushing it off.
Very funny, Topside. They just literally push him in. It's brilliant, that.
Yeah, that is cool. I like Deep Six as a character, actually.
Yeah, because he's like, in the cartoon, he was always very abrasive and very to the point, logical, no sense of humour, very cold character. You don't see him loads in the comics, but he's definitely had some character development, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah. I think when they were there's when the whale first showed up in the original Marvel run, and the shark was there as well, and they kind of comment he's walking across the deck and he's kind of not acknowledging anyone. Or
Yes. So they kind of play up that character aspect of him, don't they? It's really really interesting.
So is Destro here? Destro, he's got the Baroness because obviously he extracted her from the pit in the last episode.
Yeah,
and now he's effectively just he's bugging out, and is he not explicitly cutting ties with Cobra, but he just wants to go back to his...
Yeah, he needs to go back to Castle Destro. But what's funny is like he's really just not caring what Cobra Commander's doing. Like he's just doing his own thing. He's walking through. He's utilising Broca Beach as his own kind of thing. And lo and behold, Cobra Commander didn't even know they had a submarine underneath this particular part of Cobra.
Yeah, because it launches out of a Cobra sort of undersea bunker, doesn't it?
Yeah, and obviously it's all manned by Iron Grenadiers. Cobra Commander's like, what the hell? I didn't even know this existed, and all this kind of stuff. And even the Iron Grenadier says, might I remind the commander that the pier was understood to be Destro's bailiwick? And he's like, no, you may not.
Yeah. Shut your trap, boy. Initially, I was thinking, okay, fine, we got a change of artist here. Ron Wagner was a big fan of his stuff on the Marvel run originally. I guess as with everyone, every artist kind of 20 years later, the art will have changed a little bit, but I'm not sure whether he's trying to semi-copy S.L. Gallant's work, but it is quite different to his previous work, I think. Maybe it's more heavily inked.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, it just looks quite different to what I know as Ron Wagner art.
Agreed. I think the art is actually really, really cool. The colouring, it's not bad. I don't think it's bad colouring in any way, shape or form. And I'm enjoying it aesthetically. It's pleasing. But there's something about it that it's not as... I don't know. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't have that same kind of Wagner impact. If you go on to S.L. Gallant in like the next issue, the colouring changes quite dramatically, and I think it's the same colourist. I think it's Jay Brown, isn't it, on both?
Look. Yeah, it is Jay Brown. Yeah.
So I think in this case, Jay Brown is probably trying to work to the artist as opposed to trying to keep it very similar.
Yeah. Also, I wonder if it was. I'm not saying it was a fill-in, but I wonder if there was some kind of scheduling conflict or something like that, and Ron Wagner had to jump on board to do, an issue in less time, and then everyone inking and colouring was a bit under pressure.
I mean, that's the case, especially for the IDW G.I. Joe comic. That's been the case constantly. Scheduling issues. I mean, it's remarkable that any issues ever come out. Honestly,
yeah.
There seems to be this kind of real struggle to get the kind of schedule on point, and I think this definitely does scream of a bit of... I wouldn't even say rush job, because it actually looks really good.
Yeah.
But there are moments in it where, you're kind of like, given the time, obviously Gallant would have done it. Or given Ron the time to give Gallant a break, he probably would have made it a bit closer to what S.L. Gallant had been doing. Maybe he tried to do that, and that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing Ron's kind of almost evolution from what he does normally to trying to do something like S.L. Gallant so that it keeps that aesthetic going, and then this is what you get in between.
But also kind of story-wise, I'm not saying it's a throwaway story, but there's nothing major of consequence other than Baroness and Destro leaving, which could have potentially been told in 2 pages of the next issue.
I agree 100%. I do like, obviously, that they've done an issue that like a standalone action-packed little water battle. So we've got some characters involved. We've got some fun kind of things going on. So obviously they exfil. Destro and the Baroness get on the submarine with the Iron Grenadiers. They leave. Cobra Commander's all pissed off, and he's like, when Cobra Commander talks to Dr. Mindbender...
Oh, you must be buzzing that the brainwave scanner is shown as being blown up and is only in 2 panels.
Okay, yes, I am, but did we have to see the brainwave scanner at all?
No, we didn't.
I feel that is... He's talking about that it's been sabotaged and it's got to be ninjas, Arashikage ninjas. And he says, we've both been sold out. It must have been Destro. Televiper, give the command to launch the Morays. So Cobra Commander, for some strange reason, thinks Destro has sold them out. And obviously Destro's now away in the submarine. So the Morays get launched, and they get launched in the most amazing way ever.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like they're shot out of a cannon over the beach into the sea.
Launched over the deck.
Boulevard, over the boardwalk, over the beach into the sea. So much can go wrong there.
That is a distance right there.
Just explain to me quickly what the difference between a moray, a lamprey, and a hydrofoil is. The hydrofoil is the boat, yeah?
Cobra hydrofoil shooting across the water is an evil new boat. Cobra hydrofoil's gonna get G.I. Joe.
And this is it, the Cobra hydrofoil.
Cobra! Raise the missile rack! Fire the torpedoes! Return fire! Fire! G.I. Joe is counterattacking! Yeah!
Cobra Hydrofoil, G.I. Joe, tactical battle platform. Other Joe and Cobra figures each sold separately.
Joe!
The Moray and the Hydrofoil are the same thing. It's just one big name for it. The Cobra Moray Hydrofoil, and the Lamprey is what drives it. The pilot.
Okay. Was it called the Moray Hydrofoil as a toy in the UK?
Yeah, Cobra Hydrofoil, Moray in brackets on the Action Force box.
Okay, cool. This is where all the kind of forces come together quite rapidly. So you've got the submarine, you've got these Morays, and then obviously the Joes. And it doesn't take long before people have started launching torpedoes and surface-to-air missiles and stuff.
Pedos, I call them.
Yeah.
One thing I will say here that's very odd. So Destro, he's the head of the Iron Grenadiers. That's his faction. Undertow, which is the kind of upgraded underwater eel, not eel replacement at all, because the Undertows were Iron Grenadiers.
Right, okay.
So why on earth are Undertows on the Moray attacking Destro? Makes zero sense, that.
Yeah, I think that's a Larry-ism.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Definitely.
Yeah, because they refer to them, they refer to the word undertow. They use it quite a lot, and obviously they've all, like you said, come from the Moray hydrofoils.
Come all over it, yeah.
Shipwreck is front and centre in this story.
Yeah.
Obviously he's on the cover, but how do you feel about his choice of weapon being a grappling hook and his parrot also? Because there's one bit where he says something like, I'll go high, I'll go low, you go high. And his parrot's like, yeah, all right.
No, that's been the case with Shipwreck ever since he's been in G.I. Joe. Like he was one of the main characters in the Sunbow cartoon, a little bit of comic relief at times, but also, he does these kind of, he's very hot-headed, very wants to be the hero, so does these kind of crazy, ridiculous things.
Right.
And of course, one of those crazy, ridiculous things, we saw him do this in the Cobra Island battle, not the Cobra Civil War, but the when the island was created.
Pops up at the Gulf.
He had a fight, I think, smashed a cockpit or two with his grappling hook.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like a bit of a throwback to that little kind of thing as well. And it kind of gives him a little bit of like the hero thing going on here. So he actually shows that he is pretty kind of tidy in these kind of situations.
Well, at one point he's assaulting a guy that's on a top turret. That's where he says, actually, you go high, Polly, and I'll go low. And he's literally, the guy's got him point blank, and he's kind of ducking underneath this turret fire. So yeah, he balls out the bathtub. Crazy.
And he jumps. Yeah, he kind of jumps onto the hydrofoil. It's nuts. Absolutely ridiculous. But I do like the action in this. I like the kind of, how we talk about the aerial battles. I do like the fact there's loads of kind of movement and crashing and bashing and explosions and fighting underwater, and you can really see the struggle with Deep Six and that Undertow with the knife kind of cracking.
That's a good panel, that.
Cracking against his dome, his glass dome. That's
and
really.
You get some nice dialogue-free panels as well, which I think is a nice kind of
all floating off into the distance as if they're getting further and further under the water. Yeah, really cool.
And then the Joes are launching depth charges.
Hell yeah, they're not about.
No.
So the Shipwreck says something at one point where he's like, let's just destroy the whole place and report about it. We'll report back later.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, he's just
shoot
all
first,
he's about
ask
is
questions later.
Exactly.
So are they, when they're bombing that Cobra submarine, I suppose it's irrelevant to them that whether it's Destro and Baroness on board.
Yeah, they don't know.
But that submarine hasn't actually engaged them yet, has it?
No, but I think because they followed the progression of the Cobra transport helicopter landing. They even mentioned, I think Deep Six mentioned something that we know something's going to come out of here. So he's going down there to make sure that doesn't happen. So they for them, they just think Cobra are planning something. So it's a case, I suppose, of let's just we're fighting Cobra. That's what we do, and they're in the middle of the battle, so the depth charges are released. Imagine what it would appear to them when you got 3 Morays launched out of the beach and a submarine coming towards you. You'd think, oh, it's an offensive, wouldn't you? You wouldn't think,
of course,
this submarine's getting away. It hasn't engaged us. We'll just leave it alone. You'd be like, right, battle time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We also find out that Destro's mask is airtight.
Yes.
Because there's a limpet mine that's been put on the submarine. He goes out to disarm it. He's got breathing apparatus on
his mouth.
He's got breathing apparatus on his mouth, but obviously everything else is just completely sealed. So the eyes, sockets, the ears, everything is just locked down.
That mask is ninja bullshit. Ninja bull. It's all the time. G.I. Joe and ninja bull.
Yeah. So I'm thinking in my head.
Think you get a ninja bull theme tune in this issue?
Destro bull.
It's Destro bull. Is what I'm playing.
Yeah. So what I think happens is, unlike the ears and eyes, he presses a button and like an airtight visor comes down over those holes.
Yeah, let's just say that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Tony Starked it up, let's just say.
Big time. Big time.
Cobra Commander seen back on his tuk-tuk with the Telly Viper.
I like that we see the Telly Viper use, earlier in the issue, we see him use his kind of like TV gun as like a holographic projector for Mindbender, and then like that almost in the same story later on, he's holding a friggin' phone up.
Yeah, he's in the 21st century now, baby.
He's like, why am I in this, literally the same breath? Yeah. He's gone from one technology to the other.
He's lovely. He's upgraded. Pay rise. And then you get Shipwreck back in action in a kind of one-on-one
with the Lamprey
on the deck. Who's he fighting there? That's just that's a Lamprey, is it?
Lamprey, yeah. He says, "I'm going to shove that bag of feathers down your throat," which is a bit harsh.
Unsuccessful though.
Oh yeah, he gets his head. Yeah, he gets tackled. They both go underwater. Polly squawks as she just flies around outside. Destro and the Baroness, their charges go off inside the submarine. They're trying to kind of sort all that out.
So they got surface.
Cutter and Topside are kind of floating around looking for bodies. Deep Six appears, so he made it and comes back in the Shark. Shipwreck's on the bonnet of the Shark, and they're okay. And then they have to, obviously they have to.
You get a one-page wrap-up,
and then the one-page wrap-up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and Destro kind of, he's surfaced, and the Joes are thinking, or Topside at least is thinking, I don't know about you, I don't know about the rest of you, but I intend to look them in the eye to the end. So they're expecting to get blown to smithereens here, and then Destro, without a word, just kind of turns and off he goes.
Yep, that's
and
it.
Left Cobra Commander doing a grrr.
We're shaking, like a shake in the fist maneuver right there.
Yeah,
He's not doing that, but that's what it is. Yeah.
Thoughts and Yo Joage for this?
I'm going to say I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a nice, fun kind of reprieve of what's going on in the story. And we get, again, I always enjoy the kind of specific mission type Joe choices and so on and so. I just like the fact we get to see a couple of characters that don't normally get a lot of highlights. And it's nice to see Topside, nice to see Cutter, Deep Six, etc., Shipwreck. I know you kind of see Shipwreck a lot. But then you've also got Lampreys and Undertows and so on and so forth. So that's really cool too. Just a bit confused as to why the Iron Grenadier Undertows were attacking Destro, but I guess that's just a mistake and we move on from that. But yeah, I'd have to say, Yo Joage, I'm going to give this one a high 7.
High 7. I'm going with a high 6 on the basis that it felt a little bit too throwaway for me, and I thought the art was good, but I think I was expecting Gallant and didn't get him, so that was a little bit of a downturn, and yeah, just overall didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. But having said that, 6.5 is, for me, that's still still an enjoyable mark. So next week I think we're going to do 167 and 168 for next week then, so stay tuned for that. But now I need some toy talk right in my ear hole. Can you do it for me?
Maybe.
Chris talks about toys, ho ho. Chris talks about G.I. Joe. He talks about all the things from the comic book and the animated show. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys. Chris talks about toys.
I mean, yes. So, okay, so this one, I figured, let's do the whale.
He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe!
It's a Cobra attack! Get the G.I. Joe hovercraft! Get the new Joes aboard!
G.I. Joe hovercraft holds 9 Joes. It's the big new way to bring the Joe team into action. And it floats on water.
Release depth charges! Yo, Joe!
A real American
Chase that Cobra! Way to go, Joe!
G.I. Joe hovercraft comes with driver, other figures and equipment sold separately from Hasbro.
Because that's awesome. So that's what I'm going to do. And a couple of interesting points about the killer whale is that in the United States of America, it was released in 1984 and obviously included Cutter as the pilot. It was the kind of full, I should give it its full name, the hovercraft Killer Whale in brackets, and whale stands for Warrior Hovering Assault Launching Envoy, which is, they were really struggling, I think, to work out what the hell they could do with that. But I think they did pretty well. Sorry.
Cops are after you.
Yeah. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a crackdown. They've heard this show's getting too popular.
We'll leave it in. Actually, we get a lot of sirens. We're right next to a fire station and a police station. So it's like as soon as they leave, it's like, get the sirens on. Let's the clouds off. Anyway, the Killer Whale, very cool. And it was just this massive behemoth of a vehicle. Like I said, released in the US in 1984. You got Cutter with it. And in this beautiful big box, classic art on it as well, which again is just so, I don't know, it's just so G.I. Joe, the big explosion in the background, you've got the water effect underneath, and then you've got Cutter, Recondo, Roadblock Gung Ho, and then what I found really interesting was that they army built Grunt and put loads of like grunts in the little kind of front cockpit part. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4 grunt figures in the front, which I think is quite funny how Grunt is also a character and an army builder in like the toy sense is what I think they were trying to get at. But that was quite funny. And the fact that you've got Cutter on there, you've got a lot of characters around that time that you probably could have used water-based, and you've got Recondo, Gung Ho and Roadblock on there. It's like, okay, fair enough. But it's brilliant. Awesome bit of art. And in the UK, we did actually get, in 1985, we got the hovercraft in the Palitoy. Had like kind of when Hasbro basically started just giving Palitoy all of the actual G.I. Joe stuff to kind of put out. So we had the kind of Red Shadows and the Z-Force and all that kind of jazz. We had mixture, kind of sprinkling of G.I. Joe figures in that collection. And then in 85, it just became pure G.I. Joe figures. And we got a Palitoy boxed Action Force hovercraft, and again, slightly different decals and stuff on it. And I should probably go into like the details of what this thing actually does, because the hovercraft has got so many features, it's remarkable. So you've got the rear tail fins that move. You've got the little missile launchers. You've got the little depth charge feature on there too. You've got the rotating gun turrets. Got loads of places for characters for figures to go. 2 guns either on either side. You've got the kind of landing ramp. You've got the landing ramp which opens out, and out pops this. Well, you've got 2 little mini vehicles that come with it. You've got a miniature kind of motorcycle, and you've got a kind of like almost like it's like a toboggan, but it's not. It's like a little water-based kind of sled, which is really neat as well, with a little kind of windshield, with like a little kind of plastic windshield on it. It's really cute. Loads of figures can kind of fit in this thing. It is an absolute beast. And then obviously you've got the really cool hovercraft skirt that goes around it, and it's just an absolute beauty of a vehicle. Obviously when you got it, it came in pieces, so you had to kind of assemble it. It was a real beast. And one of the problems I think a lot of people have is with the rear fan kind of propellers, because everything is very brittle and very breakable, so it's all very kind of delicate as well. There is a gearbox which goes in there too, which allows you to move them by pressing a button, kind of electronic style, and it is awesome. But also those elements, if you can find one in the wild, a loose one, and it's got those things intact, then you've done a very, very good job indeed. Okay. Now Cutter came with this vehicle, and quickly talking about Cutter, I'm just going to read his US file card, and then I'm going to read the UK version as well. So hovercraft pilot, codename Cutter. This is brilliant. His file name is Stone Skip A, or Skipper Stone is what his name is. Primary military specialty, hovercraft captain. Secondary military specialty, special services. Coached the women's swimming team at Annapolis, which is brilliant. Birthplace, Kinsley, Kansas. Grade, Lieutenant JG. Cutter badgered his congressman for 2 years to get into Annapolis, then realised his family lacked 2 essential ingredients, power and influence, opted for the Coast Guard Academy instead. Wanted a life at sea even though hometown is as far away from either ocean as you can get, exactly 1,561 miles from San Francisco and New York City. His iron will and contrary nature, laced with a truly bizarre sense of humour, might explain why. Found out the Joe team didn't have any Coast Guardsmen, raised such a stink that the Coast Guard top brass had to pull every string necessary to fix it. It also gave the brass a way to get Cutter out of their hair. So that's the US version.
Yep.
And then the first UK version that we get, the Palatoy one, has a Cutter figure, and it's hovercraft captain, born Auckland, New Zealand. So
Okay.
Slightly different on that one. A former Coast Guard from the treacherous seas around New Zealand's South Island, a tough, uncompromising seafarer whose dogged determination has earned him many bravery awards, steadfastly refuses to be beaten by the elements at any time, although totally reliable, Cutter has very little respect for authority. So a kind of variation on the theme there, and also a complete change of where he's actually from, which I thought was kind of cool and kind of funny.
Yep.
And yeah, the whale, it did actually come out again for the Hasbro Action Force line, the version 2 in 1988. So that more closely resembled your kind of original American version. Now, the card art for this one, or the box art for this one, had Cutter, Shipwreck, Beachhead and Flint on it, and then a ton again of grunts in there. So they have kind of doctored and changed that artwork quite significantly, and it's quite interesting to see as well. It's really, really cool. So again, I will kind of show that. I'll pass that along in visually. And also we did get a Cutter version 2 again as well, and that was just basically a carbon copy, Skip A. Stone, Kansas Kinsley, etc., etc. So everything else is the same on that one as well, apart from where it says Action Force instead of G.I. Joe.
Cool. And when did you first get one?
I first got a whale it was later on in years, and I think it was a roll call event, possibly one that you went to at the Jury's Inn Southampton.
Okay.
So it would have been like fairly decent amount of time ago, but I went a long time without having a killer whale, and then I ended up getting a loose one from that event, and then a boxed one, a couple of boxed ones then after that, yeah.
Cool.
My mate, actually, interestingly enough, a friend of mine down the road in Munsley he was older than me. His name was, I think it was something Griffith, but I don't remember his first name. Anyway, it's so many years ago we're talking. I was very young, and I remember going around his place with a couple of mates, and we went into his bedroom, and his dad did work in the US, and they were very rich as well. So he had loads of G.I. Joe figures and toys, and on his windowsill he had the whale. We'd never seen it in our lives, and we were just like, what the and he had Shipwreck, which we couldn't find for love nor money, so we were really jealous. And yeah, he just had like every toy you could think of, from the Palatoy going into, going into like that up to that point back then. So I remember seeing that and just going, what the fuck, where did you get that? And obviously rich kid with a dad that travels, so there you go.
Yeah. No, that was quality. That's good stuff. Interesting on the changes on the cards as well, on the file cards, but that's cool. More toy talk next week, I hope. You haven't let me down yet, so that's a good sign. But right now, we need to confuse some people because it's time for some British colloquialisms, aka over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
Someone actually didn't over-egg the pudding last week. I think it was Cowball Customs was saying he was going to make Yorkshire puddings last week, and was hoping that they didn't go poorly. So I hope they didn't go poorly. Yeah, it was Cowball Customs from Instagram, yeah.
That's going to be really dark.
I knew it was, but...
Oh, no, he died. That's a shame, yeah.
I hope they turned out well. You can go first this week.
I've been battling with a couple. One came up the other, not as in a human couple, as in I'm a couple of options that I wanted to. Right. I'm just kind of like mulling it over, and I might just do both of them because last week's episode I said something out loud at the beginning of the show, and then was like, oh, we'll use that next time. Forgot what it was by the time British colloquialisms came around. Right. Anyway, during the edit, I remembered what it was, and it was the term brick house.
Yes,
which obviously refers to something that is like a big unit of a human being, basically. They're built like a brick house. And it just means that, like, back in the day, you'd have like an outside toilet and it would be built out of bricks, and you'd go in there and in it, therefore a brick house. And they're just these, obviously little stocky square fellas usually, and you kind of, you think, that guy's built like a brick house. So that is what that means.
Yep.
And on the other thing that kind of happened, I might save till next week because it happened naturally, and I'm not sure if we've used it or not yet. But anyway, I'll tell you what, I'll save it for next week, and you can have brick house for now.
All right, good stuff. My one, I had this one lined up for last week, but then you said something in the beginning, or I said something in the beginning, and I ended up using that instead, and I can't even remember what that was. But the one I was originally going to use was Jacobs. Now, I was watching the movie Snatch, and this is something that Vinnie Jones, as the character Bullet Tooth Tony, says Jacobs, and this is Cockney rhyming slang instead of Jacobs crackers knackers. So he's referring to testes, or the old ball bag. Jacobs because do you get Jacobs in America? Jacobs crackers?
I'm not sure if we do. I know of that saying, but I don't think we get those particular crackers here.
Yeah. So Jacobs, aka Jacobs crackers, aka knackers.
Was it something about the
knackers,
gob
aka ball
last
bag.
week? Yours was about a gob, wasn't it?
Maybe
gob something.
Can't remember. Gob. No,
it wasn't gob. But it was something about the gob.
Maybe.
It might have just been gob.
Yeah, don't know.
Anyway, yeah.
My memory's so bad, I don't even know what I did like 5 minutes ago. I think I did this show 5 minutes ago.
I don't even know what that comic was about.
No.
What toy did I do?
Yeah.
What day is it?
I remembered this week to post a question, though, which is unusual for me. And so it's time for... Listeners Answer a Question. Listeners Answer a Question. Posed by us, just for you. Listeners Answer a Question.
I preferred your made-up version last week where you forgot the lyrics and you just said whatever you wanted to say.
That could be a theme. Yeah, I thought we'd keep it topical this week. All the news coming out of Toy Fair for the G.I. Joe stuff. So we kind of asked you out there what particular figures you were most looking forward to, and in general what you thought of this new line of figures. And good response, as always, across the Facebook and the Instagram and the Twitter.
Yes,
so
thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
There was quite a lot of excitement. I thought the main takeaways were there was a lot of excitement. Even the people there was only a few comments that, not negative, but were like, I'm not sure. But they all ended up saying, well, I'm still going to probably pre-order them anyway. So
I pre-ordered them sitting in the presentation while we were watching it as soon as they went up.
So it seems to be a lot of good feels for this line. Actually, in terms of what characters people want to see, we'll leave that to the end. But I had a couple of questions.
Go for it.
Who is this line targeted at? Because the 6-inch figure, they're probably going to be more pricey. I think they're 20 quid over here in the UK, and I don't know, because I'm not an action figure collector, I don't know that price point. How does that compare to Marvel figures or Star Wars figures or stuff like that? And is it for kids as well as collectors, or do you see them mainly just in display cases?
Well, in terms of who they're aiming at, I managed to get to speak to Lenny Panzica, the designer of the toys themselves, and he said that they did a lot of market research with kids, and he did loads of designs, and they were kind of picking these and those and that kind of stuff. And so their idea is that they want kids to buy these things as well. Obviously, like you say, the 6-inch line is usually predominantly a collector line for kind of like the adult collector. Again, a bit more expensive than what you usually get. It's not like you go into the store and your mom would buy you a $20 figure. It's not usually what happens. But obviously, I don't know, times change a little bit, but I'm not so sure it's the best idea in the world to do that, because there's a real balance that you have to strike, and if the kind of the older adult collectors aren't interested, then it may die on its own before it even gets anywhere. That said, I want it to be really successful, and if kids do buy them, that's fantastic. So obviously the designs themselves are very much geared towards a brighter kind of more Fortnite looking style. And Lenny was saying that he went through loads of different kind of design ideas, and I think he had like 20 something designs for each figure, and they eventually kind of landed on these. Some of the colors actually are going to change, so it's going to vary a little bit. In terms of price, they're pretty much the same as, it's retail standard issue, Marvel Legends Black Series, all that kind of stuff. And, they're not like, generally a banker. Some of them are great and they sell really well to the collector community.
A couple of people were mentioning the similarities to that Star Wars Black Series line.
Yeah. Like the Snake Eyes one they brought out, for example, especially in like the box design, is very much that kind of Star Wars Black Series aesthetic. And then obviously for the classified series regular retail figures that aren't the exclusives, then you've got this kind of beautiful, this more vibrant blue kind of colourful box art, which is really nice, actually, really, really quite eye-catching. But as you just mentioned, at that price point, are kids honestly going to be like clamouring for these? Yes, they might be clamouring for them, but will they be able to afford them? Will their parents be able to kind of sustain that kind of, they buy a lot of parents, they're buying.
I don't know what the alternative is, because I haven't really bought action figures for 25, 30 years, and I don't keep an eye on I don't keep an eye on the scene. So are there, I'm assuming there are smaller sized action figures that clearly are marketed to kids, not necessarily G.I. Joe, but I'm just talking pop culture, movie, video game action figures in general.
So when lines release, they usually do like a kind of multiple ages rollout, where you have like your preschool, then you have like your kind of younger kids, then you have like your your kind of 4-inch kind of collectors, but then also kids stuff. And then you have your kind of adult collector stuff, and then you have like role play items. So there's multiple points of contact for lots of different ages. I sound like a work at Hasbro, but then what you have, I suppose, to deal with. One thing I would say as well, on the actual box art, it does say 4+ on it, so they are are skewing very young on these. And obviously they've changed things like, rather than having like very realistic weapons, you've got like lasery type blasters and rail guns and and Scarlet has a crossbow. She's always had a crossbow. I'm only saying crossbow because it's not like a machine gun or something. So they've kind of skewed towards that more. And you can see that. You can see it's clearly more a kid-friendly vibe. But I agree with you. Like, it's like you kind of have to question, is that, so far it's been good because they've been selling out the pre-orders. Snake Eyes on a second run, which is brilliant. Scarlet and Duke sold out, and I think Roadblock also did, and they're on second runs now. So that's really kind of positive. Yeah. But usually around Toy Fair, you're gonna sell that anyway. Like, it's like the excitement and people just buying, and it's the pre-orders there, just do it. So like that, is kind of inbuilt in excitement and pretty much guaranteed sales anyway. So it's hard to gauge. It really is.
Yeah. And for me, looking at them, the sculpts look really cool, and I think the characters are easily recognisable. Yeah. But like you say, they've kind of done a few little tweaks with those futuristic guns, and also a couple of people were mentioning when reached out to us, was saying a lot of this kind of gold trim, these gold accents.
That's another thing. So Lenny mentioned that colours might change, and he said to me that don't get too tied down to some of these colours, because I think a lot of it's going to change. What we saw at the show and what's been revealed and what's been photographed and so on and so forth, those are first shot pilots straight out of the molds to kind of, but like a test shot effectively. Right. So those figures are, they've only done like a small run on them, and they're, just enough to kind of show off at Toy Fair and, take photographs with and so on and so forth. So there aren't many versions of those knocking about, probably only a couple of each. Right. Now, because of that, we are likely to see changes made by Hasbro based on some feedback. So I'm not saying that that's what they do necessarily in general, but I can see them maybe looking at, because he was talking about that he looks at the boards a lot, and he kind of kind of listens to the community a little bit, kind of, and I was like, dude, you need to cut that right out if you want to have a happy life. But he was basically saying that, there might be changes. I honestly expect that gold to be more kind of copper, more kind of toned down, kind of browny kind of color towards the end of it. Yeah, based on what he was talking about. I would say that, a lot of people we'll see something slightly different when it comes out for the actual the actual release, I believe.
Yeah, a couple of people will actually give you a shout out to the full force, saying that very happy with your coverage of the toy fair.
Oh, that's nice of them. Mate, I've been struggling because over that weekend, Facebook decided that I was spam and said that we're restricting the page so you're not going to be visible on news feeds.
Oh no!
And I was like, what the f***?
That's not
And
good.
I went on there, like it says at the top of the page, it's like you learn more. So I clicked on that and it said the not found or something. I'm like, great. So like, what? Thanks very much. So I couldn't actually learn more. I learned that Facebook are absolute. I then went to the appeal button, clicked on appeal, and you have to like write, tell us why we should release the restriction. So I typed in this whole diatribe of like, I have no idea why this has happened. We're a news source. This is like our busiest time, and it helps us grow the channel and the page and so on and so forth. What this is doing is restricting that massively during the busiest period of time that people will be looking at us and checking us out. Because we grew too quickly, they just cut us off. And I just thought that is disgusting.
Yeah, that's poor.
And no matter what I do, I can't contact them. Facebook are like there's no way of calling them. It's just all through this little, like their own service. I've written 5 appeals now in the last 2 days and nothing has been responded to.
You're still blocked?
Still blocked. Still can't get our stuff on the newsfeed. Yesterday, we had 4 news bursts go out. It was our busiest day yesterday ever. We had loads of news coming out of Toy Fair with Jada Toys doing die-cast vehicles for G.I. Joe, which are really cool.
Yep.
Jazzwares doing domes figures instead of like the action figures that everyone thought was going to happen. Loads of news was flying out. And then that one day that we, would love to get that stuff out and have eyes on it and get it there before anyone else does. YouTube was going nuts. It was brilliant. Twitter was going nuts. It was great. Facebook, dead. Not like one because it was people that were going on the page and seeing what the going on while they weren't seeing stuff.
Yeah, that's poor.
And I'm so angry. It's like you need these moments. You need these weekends. You need these specific days to grow your channel, to grow your business, which is what it's becoming. And we couldn't do that, and it cut us off massively. We did nothing to break rules or do anything like that. It's bull because they can't even tell me what it was I did. They can't even say when I said learn more about it, it's like we can't find what you're looking for. So it's like, what the hell? And then you're given this general vague bull of have a look over here and over here. This is our rules and see if you've broken any of them. It's like, no, tell me what the I've done.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to be going around in circles, are we not? So effectively, this is until March the 1st. And I'm like, well, get it done. Get it sorted. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Right. Give me absolutely a high chance, a maybe, and a no chance on what your views of these figures being included at some point in this line.
Go for it.
Stalker.
High chance.
Zartan and the Dreadnoks. These are all suggestions of characters that people wanted to see.
Zartan, very high chance. And I'll say that and then point you towards our Patreon. If you want to know more, join our Patreon.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dreadnoks.
Dreadnoks, high chance, eventually.
Dial tone.
Mid-chance, mid-range.
Eel.
Mid-range.
5 big Cobras, I guess. Destro, Baroness, Firefly, Storm Shadow, and Cobra Commander.
Well, Destro's in the wave 1.
Yep.
Baroness, high chance. Firefly, high chance.
Storm Shadow.
Very high chance.
Cobra Commander.
The highest of chances.
Yes, obviously. Tunnel Rat.
I would say mid to high.
Okay. Flint.
Oh, very high.
Lady J.
Very high.
Vipers.
Very high.
Could be many different Vipers, I guess. A lot of Alley Vipers pictured on the...
that is also a very high, yeah. And Lenny's actually talked about the design on that as well, so it's pretty safe to say that one's on its way, yeah.
A couple more here. Crimson Guard.
I would say high chance eventually, kind of a few waves down, yeah.
Yep. Hawk.
I would also, again, have to give that a high chance down the road, yeah.
Airborne.
Mid to low chance.
Yep. Can't read mine right in there. I'll have to come back to that one.
Don't know who that is. Mate,
Cover
sorry.
Girl.
Mid chance.
I'll tell you who it was. It was Lieutenant Falcon.
Oh, yeah. Mid to high.
Okay.
But I still think that might be a bit further down the road. Yeah.
Right. And lastly, we'll get out of this segment on what's the situation with vehicles?
Well, nothing as yet, but obviously you could always look at the fact that Black Series is still churning out vehicles for their 6-inch figures. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. It depends how successful the line is.
Yeah. What would be the first kind of series of figures? How many would we be looking at?
Well, the first wave is Roadblock, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Duke, Destro. I think that's everyone. Yeah, the 4 and the 5. I think it's the 5 figures.
But then when would we see wave 2?
Wave 2 would be very soon, very, very soon afterwards. Like, you're talking like you'd know about it before you saw the others at retail. So yeah.
Okay, right. And then how many waves do you think they would base the projected long-term, yes, this is something we can continue with?
You can probably, I mean, like, if the first and the second wave are successful, then you'd be looking at, going on from there.
Right, okay.
If obviously the first wave had a spike with Toy Fair, if that spike continues and it's still really the excitement's still there and people are still buying them, it just goes until that dips. So if the second wave aren't as good, or that's why they'll save characters for certain waves, because if you blow your beans in the first wave,
you don't want to overload.
You don't want to overblow your roadblock. Yeah. So if they just dump every major character in that first wave, it's like, well, you're done then. And then it's like, do people really want Lightfoot? Yes, they do. Do people really want Downtown and, Quinn? Well, yeah, they do. I want all of these characters. I want all of these characters, man.
All right, well, it's exciting times in the world of G.I. Joe.
I think so.
And
I think so.
You can get more excitement if you tune in to the pod next week, because we'll be back with another episode. We'll be covering issues 167, 168. If you want to do your homework and read ahead, you're more than welcome to. If you don't, and you just want to listen to us talk for about 35 minutes about comics, then you're welcome to do that as well. But you can find us in all the usual places. Reach out to us. It's Twitter. No, it's not Twitter _Joe. It's Talking_Joe on Twitter. And it's Talking Joe Comics on Instagram. TalkingJoeComics@gmail.com. I had another email coming from Sam Myers. Thank you very much for that. It's Talking Joe.
Super fan.
Talking Joe, yep. A G.I. Joe podcast on the Book of Face. And that's pretty much it. Where can the fine people find you, sir? I think they all know, but tell them anyway if they're a new listener.
So you can get Diagnostic80 on Instagram and Twitter. Sorry, I just had a cookie. And
that's all right. You're allowed.
That isn't part of the URL, by the way.
Right. Okay.
And then also on top of that, the Full Force podcast everywhere except Facebook at the moment. So it's it's Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Patreon, Twitter, and I'd loathe to say it, but Facebook as well.
Go and check that out. He's doing the yeoman's work over there. It's all good stuff. You can find me, Chiefy2Shoes, on Twitter, or the Outer Timers on Instagram or Twitter for the other podcast I do, pop culture stuff. And hopefully you'll be coming on for a guest on that soon. Well, I don't know if you're aware of that, but I'm telling you that now. So good luck. But with all that said and done, we will see you down the road.
Bye.
Bye.